Hey everybody, Melon here again. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to part 2 of my kind of end-of-year peripheral roundup I'm doing. This time we're going to be covering all the mice I've used this year, and there are a lot of them. So I just thought to give some thoughts on the products and that kind of stuff. Again, if you same as last time, if you guys have any questions, just feel free to leave a comment down below, and all the products we linked to the description for you guys. Again, maybe I'll do this next year, depending on how many how much I feed my crippling peripheral addiction. We'll see what happens. But regardless, I appreciate you guys watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Alrighty, so to start off, I'm just going to quickly go over my basic office mouse. I just use a SteelSeries Sensei Ten for my basic office editing mouse. I try not to use my gaming mouse for just that kind of stuff. It's an old mouse. It's very old. I've just been using it just because it's the one I have lying around. It's nothing fancy. I would not recommend this mouse for gaming, but it's good for office use. I wouldn't recommend anything SteelSeries for gaming, as you'll see later in the video, but it's a nice little comfortable mouse. It fits my hands well, so it works well for the office. Alrighty, now on to my biggest mistake. Now, when I first got into FPS and aim training and that kind of stuff, I decided I should get myself like a professional grade mouse, and not knowing what I was looking for, I decided to buy a SteelSeries because on the box it said, oh, it's trusted by gamers worldwide, and it was like, oh, this is a great mouse, everyone should use this. This thing's dog water. So I will go over the positives first. I will say I love the shape of the Prime. The mouse fits really good in my hand. There's something about it that just feels very natural. I love the way it sits. The clicks are also really good. I don't know if you guys can hear the clicks, but they're optical switches. They feel really good. I will say the actuation to click them is a little high compared to other mice, but it feels good. And then on to the bad stuff. So bad stuff first. Coding literally disintegrated within 2 months. It just disappeared. The scroll wheel is not that great. It's bumpy and it's not very accurate. It also just sounds like I'm grating cheese. Just not a fan of it. The stock skates were so scratchy I couldn't use them. I literally couldn't use this mouse until I got third-party feet. The sensor is awful, has desync issues, has tracking issues. It also had an issue where my mouse would just jitter all over the place randomly. The sensor is awful. The cable that came with this mouse is also like super thick, so thick that I couldn't even get into a mouse dongle. I had to hot glue a clothes peg to the bottom of my monitor to use this as a bungee, because this mouse pad cable, I apologize, just sticks to mouse pads. Just overall, a really poor experience. You will notice the theme. I do not recommend buying any Razer mice for gaming. They are just awful. If this was like an office mouse, I'd be super happy with it, but you cannot justify the just bad quality and just it's such a shame, because SteelSeries actually could make really good mice if they put a good sensor in this one, change the clicks a little bit, change the feet, and I had the actual good wireless implementation. I know my unit isn't wireless, but the wireless ones had a lot of problems. This mouse would be really good, but it's just not a good mouse. I can't recommend it, and I really hate that I tried it. Alright, next up we have the SteelSeries Aeros 3 Ghost Edition. Now, I got this mouse as a gift. I didn't actually purchase this myself after my whole Prime debacle. This mouse was honestly it's just another bad SteelSeries mouse. I will give them credit. The shape and the feel is not too terrible. It's way too small for my hands. The stock skates are okay, it's kind of the same as the Prime. Like, I'd definitely recommend you get core pads if you end up deciding one of these. The side buttons are really hard to click in, and they kind of mesh into the actual frame, and they're kind of awkward because you have to raise your finger up so hard to hit them. It does have USB-C, which is nice. So USB-C cable. This cable is much better than the Prime Plus one. It is still thick, but you don't need to put this in a paracord, so it doesn't matter as much. So that's nice. Comes with kind of like a nice little seating dongle, and then a really thick dongle as well. Overall, I would not use this as a gaming mouse. This is kind of like we just use it as an office mouse. My biggest gripe about this mouse is how bright this thing is. I'm gonna turn it on to see if it'll do it. Okay, it's unpaired right now. This thing is bright. Like, it's really bright. Like, you could probably, like, if you're lost in a cave, if you have an Aeros 3, you could probably just turn this thing on, set the RGB to white, and use this as a flashlight. Way too bright for a mouse. I don't know why they insisted stuffing such bright LEDs into this thing. But again, kind of like the Prime Plus, it's not a gaming. I would not recommend this to anyone as a gaming mouse. If you want a mouse like this size, you want wireless, just go buy a HyperX Pulsefire Haste, because that mouse is a million times better in every possible way. Just don't buy it. Just don't buy this. I don't recommend it unless you're lost in a cave and you need a flashlight, but you can do that. Alrighty, and next up we have the PWNAGE Ultra Custom Ergo 2. Now, I got this one as just kind of like, I bought a bundle of stuff from someone who's retiring from gaming, and they just kind of threw all this stuff in a box for me. I actually did really enjoy this mouse. This mouse was actually kind of nice, but it just had a couple shortfallings. Now, the biggest thing about this mouse is that this mouse is basically entirely customizable. So you can take off this back part of the frame, you can take off the clicks, you can change everything on this one. You can even hot swap the switches, you can change the adjustment of the clicks on this guy. It is super customizable, which is a great concept in theory, but in execution it has a lot of problems. The shape is nice, the stock skate design is okay, the sensor is definitely not what I would want for a mouse like this. Clicks are good, they feel nice, the side buttons are nice and big, they're easy to click. It kind of feels like a slightly thinner SteelSeries Prime Plus for me. The weight is okay, it's not I would say it's a little on the heavier side. My problem with this unit is that the battery is really, really bad. Even with RGB off, for some reason this thing just sucks battery like no tomorrow. Like, I have to plug this thing in after like 2 days of use and it's completely dead. And also it is insanely expensive. So for that reason I can't recommend this mouse, unfortunately. If you want a mouse like this, there are way better options available. Again, I'm glad I got it just to kind of test it out. It's a cool thing to have on the shelf, but I can't recommend it as like a mainstay mouse, but it's cool to try regardless. But I don't know, it's all right. Alrighty, now into one of my favorite mice I've used this year. This is the VAXEE OUTSET AX. Now, just a heads up, I do have my own custom skates on this one. I have custom grip tape that does not come like this. This is just my personal preference. I loved this mouse. This was probably one of my favorite mice I've used this year. The shape is awesome. It kind of feels like a Prime Plus, if that makes sense, but a little bigger, which is perfect for me. The clicks are awesome. They feel nice and responsive. The scroll wheel's nice and clicky, very nice and clicky. It feels good. The big downside to this mouse is this cable. This cable is so big. I will give them credit. It does not stick to the mouse pad like the SteelSeries Prime Plus one does, but this cable is way too big. I actually ended up trying to do a cable mod onto this one and put it on a lighter paracord, and the paracord I received was defective, and because of that, I couldn't actually use my mouse, which is very unfortunate. I also decided to use the Pulsar Super Glides on this mouse for a long time, but then when my Super Glides died, I didn't actually have replacement feet for this one, and I wasn't able to get any at the time due to COVID issues, so I had to retire the mouse. Again, I really love the shape. Like, I use this mouse for a long time. This is I think this is the mouse I used the most when I was playing Splitgate professionally. Love this mouse, highly recommend it. I will say though, I would hold off on purchasing one of these until there's a wireless one coming out, because now Zowie and VAXEE are both having wireless mice come out in 2023. Fingers crossed. If this mouse comes out wireless, this is an endgame mouse for going to be a lot of people. If you want a good solid build quality ergo, this is the one to go to, but just wireless doesn't exist right now. Oh, and I almost forgot one more thing. Another really, really awesome feature about this mouse is that all the settings are completely on board. So you don't need any software to run this mouse. It is completely done on here, which is amazing, because mouse software is often really bad. I'm looking at you, SteelSeries. It's just awesome. It's plug and play, it works no problem. Again, if it was wireless, I would probably use this thing, and this would probably be my end game mouse. But this cable's a deal breaker for me. I can't deal with the cable. But again, love it. VAXEE, if anyone from VAXEE is watching, I love you guys. You guys make amazing products. I'm super happy. I'm just waiting for wireless. All right. Alrighty. And next up, we have another favorite of 2022, the Pulsar Xlite V1. Now, I use the heck out of this mouse. I loved this mouse. It's super light. Clicks feel great. It's kind of like in between. It kind of feels like the SteelSeries ones, but a little heavier. Like, so not as heavy as the Outset, but kind of in the middle. The scroll wheel is nice and silent, but it has a good tactile click to it. Side buttons are a little too high for in my personal opinion. They are a little high because you kind of have to hold it really weird to actually hit the buttons. You have to move your mouse up, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world. The big thing for me was the way the mouse feels in my hand. Now, this is a smaller model, but for some reason, I see how I can kind of rest the base of my thumb against this. It's a really comfortable grip for me to use. I don't know why this ended up being a comfortable grip for me, but it worked out really well, which is surprising because, again, this is a smaller unit. But very happy with it. The stock skates are really good. I still actually haven't changed it. They've actually held up extremely well. The honeycomb design is also a really nice plus because I have rather sweaty hands, and this kind of helps with cooling and letting my hand breathe and that kind of stuff. So I've been very happy with this mouse. The only reason I stopped using this mouse is because I got the mouse that we're going to cover next. That's the only reason I stopped using this. Currently, this is Mrs. Mel0n's main mouse, and she loves this thing, and I don't blame her. This thing's awesome. I will probably end up picking up the X3 whenever that comes out. The X2 didn't have too big of an improvement, but I think the X3 is going to be a nice step up. So I'll definitely be revisiting Pulsar in the future, especially if they keep the same shape. But again, really like this mouse, highly recommend it. If you want a good kind of Ergo wireless, and you can get it on Amazon for cheap, this is definitely one of the ways to go. Highly recommend the Pulsar. All right, and last up we have the Razer Deathadder V3 Pro, the DA3. This has been my main mouse since I got it. When did I get this? I think I got this about a month or so ago. It's been a love-hate relationship with this one. I'll be completely honest with you. I wasn't a fan of Razer for a long time, and I decided to give this one a shot. I do enjoy the mouse, but I'm still not 100% sure if I really like it. It's not like the Outset AX or the Pulsar Xlite where I just knew the moment I touched it I loved it. This one's been kind of a work in progress. I think the thing for me has been that there's not as much of a curve at the base of the mouth as I expected there to be, so it's a little awkward for me to grip. I kind of have to hold it sideways, if that makes sense, for me to use it properly, which is fine, but it's definitely been a bit of a transitional period for me to get used to it. But that's my personal thing. I will say though, if you have like smaller hands, because I have big hands, if you have smaller hands, you like Ergos, this will probably be an amazing shape. You'll probably love it. Stock skates are a little scratchy. I have third-party PTFEs on the way to replace these because they've been a little scratchy and kind of weird sometimes. But aside from that, I really don't have any other complaints about the mouse. The quality is really nice. It's very light. Clicks are not, the side buttons are nice and responsive. They are still, again, a little too high, so it's kind of awkward. Main clicks feel really nice. They're optical switches, which is really nice to see again, so very little latency on those, or no latency in some cases. Scroll wheel's nice. It doesn't have too much of a tactile bump. It kind of feels a little loose, but it feels good. It charges via USB, USB-C, which is nice to see. The included cable was very nice. No issues with that, and the dongle and everything was very, very well built. No issues with that, any of that stuff at all. And then also it did come with included grip tape, which is nice. It's not my personal favorite grip tape, but it's better than nothing. At least it comes in the box. My thing so far with this is that this mouse was really expensive, and I've gotten mice that are a quarter the price of this that I feel better in my hand. So I'm still kind of not sure if I'm going to stick with this guy. Part of me wants to go back to the Pulsar just because that mouse fit me so well, which doesn't make a lot of sense because it's a smaller mouse. But I'm going to give it a little more time. I'm going to give it another 2 months to see how I perform on it. Again, it could just be a good bit of a getting used to transitional period. But again, not a bad mouse. Very expensive. You can afford it. I'm sure you're going to love it. And you like the shape, you're probably going to like it. I'm just very picky about my mouse, so that's just me.